Good morning. I'm in beautiful Charleston, South Carolina, in front of the Calhoun Mansion, one of the many residences of Mr. and Ms. Gedney M. Howe III. I've had the pleasure of working on this house for the last 11 years. I'm going to invite you to come inside and see what we've been doing for the last 11 years to the interior. As we now enter the great hall, I'd like for you to take note of the beautiful drapery treatment over the door. I can't take full credit for this idea. This was one of the many great ideas that came from Mr. Howe. This is one of our favorite pieces in the house. It's a beautiful chest done in Louis XIV style, done in the 19th century. And on top of this chest is a fabulous three-piece garniture of Sèvres porcelain. This porcelain once lived in the fabulous Chateau Villers-Vicomte in south of Paris. I want you to notice the wonderful detail on the ceiling, and I want to point out the portraits of Mr. and Mrs. Howe and two of his wonderful children. The youngest that has recently been born is going to adorn another spot a little later. I'd like to point out the beautiful grandfather clock, and I hope that we'll be able to hear it speak because it has a beautiful voice. We're fortunate to have a portrait of John Calhoun, the grandfather of Patrick Calhoun that inherited the Calhoun Mansion. Stepping back into the back of the hall, there's a wonderful painting of a gypsy girl that was found in the attic by Mr. Howe and has now been beautifully restored. Lee, I'd like very much for you to get a shot of the wonderful marbles that are in the hallway. We had someone that came through the house and says, I believe there are more marbles in this house than Napoleon stole from the Italians during his conquest. This Crouching Venus is one of my favorites in the hallway, and I'm sure you'll get all the others. Now we're stepping into what is known as the grand drawing room or the cherry room. This is one of my favorite rooms in the house. The woodwork is absolutely magnificent. And please note the original gasoliers, the three gasoliers with the Oriental motif. And there's this interesting Oriental motif in the porcelain. Another magnificent piece of sculpture to my right. Again, one of the most exciting ones. She has so much action, she almost seems to dance off of the marble pedestal. She's the gypsy girl. While we're walking around and looking at the beautiful pieces of sculpture in detail, I want to tell you a little bit about the Calhoun Mansion, that it was built by a very illustrious Charlestonian, Mr. Williams, and he built this house in 1876. I want to give you a little brief history of the house. The house was built by Mr. George Williams in 1876, and it was known for many years as the Williams Mansion. The house was left to his daughter, Sarah, and her husband, Patrick Calhoun, and they inherited the house around 1903. And then it became known as the Calhoun Mansion. This wonderful music box is always the head of the house. We call it the stereo of yesteryear. It's not only a music box, it has chimes and has an organ as well. This room would have been used to receive callers during the Williams time, and unless you were invited to a fancy party, you would have been invited to come in this room and have a seat and wait until the Williams would have received you. The furniture in this room is Louis Philippe, mid-19th century. And I want you to take special note of the beautiful drapery treatments and the cornices that were found in the attic. As we're looking around the beautiful reception room, and I pointed out the gold leaf cornices that were found in the attic, I want to pay a tribute to Mr. Carl Boone, who is one of the city's great restoration experts, and he's been working on the house much longer than I. He's been working on the house since Mr. Howe bought it in 1976. Without Mr. Boone's help.
Okay.
Welcome to the library. I'm having great fun sitting at Mr. Howe's magnificent desk playing Lord of the Manor House. This room has a wonderful collection of antique books, a few of which are original to the house. These beautiful books were found for Mr. Howe by his good friends and my good friends, the Palmers. Marge and Tom Palmer are book experts, and they have supplied all of these wonderful books. This is the gentleman for whom the name was changed to the Calhoun Mansion. As I mentioned, he and his wife inherited this mansion. His wife was Sarah Williams. We're now stepping from the library into the ladies' parlor, as it was called years ago. This is a room where the ladies would gather maybe after dinner and have a little sherry, while men would go into another part of the house and smoke and have something a little stronger. One of the magnificent pieces of the house that I want to point out is this wonderful Venetian secretary done in the mid-19th century. Now we're coming into my very favorite room in the whole house. This magnificent dining room has housed many wonderful events and parties since Mr. and Mrs. Howe have lived here. The table will seat 24 to 26 people, and believe me, the dinner parties that Mr. and Mrs. Howe have here are unsurpassed. When the table is all laden with beautiful old Paris china, fine silver, and each person has their own server. If we have 24 guests, we have 24 servers. On the table is a beautiful English silver epergne with 2 pineapple stands. Pineapple stands came in vogue in the 1840s. I hope you've enjoyed the beauty of the grand stairway as we have arrived at the second floor landing in the beautiful hall that is the same exact size as the hall downstairs. As you will notice, the ceiling in this room is absolutely beautifully decorated. Just the same as downstairs. I want to share this magnificent 18th century Northern Italian cabinet with you. The amount of time it took to produce this, I'm sure, is just unbelievable. This is all ivory. Open it so you can get a detail of the inside. Again, on this floor, we have another beautiful set of Aubusson furniture done in the mid-19th century. A very interesting bust of Napoleon and Josephine. We're now in one of the guest bedrooms of the Calhoun mansion. This bed is Napoleon III in style. It's ebonized. And notice the beautiful drapery treatment over the bed and on the window. This was just done by my associate, Les Weisinger. The house originally probably had 20 or 22 such bedrooms. This charming little room at the end of the upstairs hall was probably used as a smoking room, as the doors could open and there's a little piazza that you can step out on. This is another one of the beautiful guest bedrooms of the Calhoun mansion. This bed is absolutely magnificent. It's called a Jacobean bed, and it was done in the 17th century. And it's the oldest piece of furniture, I believe, in the house. We also have many other pieces in the room that are of the same period that you'll notice. Now then, we're perhaps in the all-time favorite room of the whole house. I think more people enjoy this room. This is their favorite. This we call today the music room, our ballroom, and it houses many of the great paintings of Mr. and Ms. Howe's collection. As I said earlier downstairs, you notice we're on the second floor, and the house is still just as grand as it was downstairs. This beautiful woodwork on the mantel, and I want to point out the wonderful Sevres clock set. The furniture in this room, I want to point out to you, is French. It's Louis XVI in style. It would have been impossible to have found 26 matching chairs, so we had these chairs made in France for this room. We're now in what we call the private apartment that was created for Mr. Howe before he married his gorgeous wife, Celeste. This apartment was used by him for comfort as well as beauty. I think you look around the room There are many personal things of his, many pictures of his wonderful family. And the furniture is primarily English in origin, with a few French pieces thrown in, and very, very comfortable. An interesting thing about his apartment, when Prince Charles visited in Charleston, his apartment, this room and his bedroom, were two of Prince Charles' favorite rooms. And he invited his entourage to come and see the Calhoun mansion, and especially this apartment. The painting over the sofa is after Rubens, and it was done in the 18th century. The beautiful painting over the mantel is the niece of Henry Clay Frick. She was a very accomplished violinist in her day. We're now in what was Mr. Howe's bedroom. The beautiful bed is a little flavor of New Orleans. It's a Millard bed made in New Orleans in the mid-19th century. I want you to notice the particular detailing under the teaster. We're now in the billiard room, and there's a wonderful 19th century billiard table in the center of this room. And I want you to notice the interesting director's chair over here that says Mary Bell. Mary Bell was Mr. Howe's beloved mother that was loved by everyone in Charleston. And she was here living in the house in one of the wonderful apartments upstairs while the filming of North and South was taking place. Mary Bell was busy downstairs directing and helping him with the filming, so they did this chair as a tribute to her. As I'm pausing to catch my breath as we climb to the cupola, this is one of the reasons I think that Mr. Howe decided to buy the house. When he saw the magnificent view of Charleston from the top of this house, it's unsurpassed. This is indeed a wonderful sculpture, a treasure, done in the late 18th or early 19th century. And I think Sheila and George have done a great job of making the pedestal and also the design around this wonderful sculpture. I want to point out these fabulous urns. They're French from the 19th century. The detailing is absolutely amazing. I want to pay a special thanks to Mr. and Ms. Howe for allowing me to work on this wonderful project for these many years. And as they have other houses, I'm sure we'll have many other projects that we'll do together. I want to say especially thank you, Celeste and Gedney, for allowing me, Les, and my staff to be associated with you through these years.